Invite viewers to post their location and local time. The marble lobby of Premiere National smells faintly of lemon polish and overconfidence. The kind of place where echoes stretch longer than they should, and where the clerks seem to believe their neckties grant them judicial authority. Brad Mitchell, teller with a smirk so permanent you'd think it was printed on his W-2, holds up a $47,000 check like it's a prop in a bad detective drama. "Ma'am, this fake check isn't fooling anyone," he announces, not just to Dr. Denise Washington, but to the entire room, projecting his voice the way a street magician sells snake oil. Denise's fingers rest lightly on the granite counter, knuckles blanching just enough to hint she's not made of marble herself. Brad's audience grows. Sarah from the next window chuckles under her breath, and Jim, the security guard, shifts closer, hand grazing his radio like it's a holster in an old Western. Then Brad does something even bad community theater directors would cue, tears the check in half, slow and deliberate, letting the sound echo off those vaulted ceilings while the pieces drift down like very expensive snow. Historians still argue whether that sound was more insult or more invitation for disaster. Patricia Bennett, the branch manager, materializes from her glass-walled lair with the predatory precision of a shark that smells chum. She doesn't bother asking for context. Her eyes have already made their ruling. 3 forms of ID, social security card, proof of address dated within 30 days, she demands, each requirement falling like a metal gate slamming shut. Denise produces them all from a Hermes handbag worth more than Brad makes in a month, but Patricia examines each as if expecting to find a holographic Easter egg labeled "Gotcha." She mutters something about scammers getting better, loud enough for the marble to hear. Across the lobby, Mrs. Rodriguez angles her phone just right, her livestream viewer count climbing like a stock about to split. Comments begin piling in. "This is racism in real time. Call the news. Premiere National shame." The hashtag takes root before Patricia finishes her bureaucratic glare. Jim plants himself behind Denise, radiating the kind of authority that turns requests into orders. Meanwhile, Brad explains his textbook scammer theory to anyone in earshot, coming in right before closing. Big settlement check, the whole con artist starter pack. The irony? On Denise's phone, a reminder buzzes for her 4 o'clock board meeting, a Delta One boarding pass peeking from her blazer pocket. But here, in Brad's theater, none of those props get the spotlight yet. The performance is still about the fraud he thinks he's caught, the whispers spreading through the crowd, the quiet maternal arms pulling children close as they witness a masterclass in how institutional prejudice wears a tie. And through it all, Denise stays still, a faint smile forming like the first crack in a dam, just waiting for the right moment to let the flood through. By 2:54 p.m., that faint smile has started to work on Patricia's confidence like acid on cheap metal. She doubles down anyway, announcing for the whole lobby that corporate security requires full verification before any transaction can proceed. Mrs. Rodriguez's live stream ticks past 200 viewers, digital outrage sprouting in every comment thread like mushrooms after rain. The news van from Channel 7 is already slicing through downtown traffic, tipped off by activists who can smell a civil rights case in the making. Brad, feeling the room's attention, calls his regional supervisor with the gusto of a man auditioning for most self-assuredly wrong. He talks about intercepting a major fraud attempt, peppers in words like sophisticated and watermarks too perfect, as if he's narrating an episode of CSI. Bank lobby. Patricia nods along, unaware she's agreeing to a script that's about to be torn apart more brutally than that check. Historians still debate whether it was arrogance or obliviousness that kept her from noticing the live camera trained on her from 3 feet away. Security guard Jim tightens the circle, suggesting Denise step outside for a private discussion, which, as anyone who's ever dealt with a bad high school vice principal knows, is code for "we're about to make this worse." The viewers keep climbing. Someone comments, "Call the NAACP now." Another, "Get this woman a lawyer." Denise glances at her watch 6 minutes to closing, then at the promotional video playing on the wall-mounted TV, as if checking the weather before a picnic. At 2:59, Patricia's phone starts erupting like a popcorn machine, calls from headquarters, regional management, and crisis comms tripping over each other. Still, Brad keeps hammering his theory, blissfully certain that executives never bank in branches like his. But then 3 o'clock hits, and Denise finally moves with deliberate precision, pulling out her phone like it's the final card in a magic trick. She dials one number. "Janet, this is Denise. Execute Plan B, yes, right now." Full implementation. She says it just loud enough to wrap the whole lobby in curiosity and dread. When she hangs up, she looks straight into the security camera and introduces herself for the record DR. Denise Washington, Chief Technology Officer of Meridian Tech Solutions. The date. The location. The words systematic discrimination placed neatly like chess pieces on the board. And then the television blinks. Gone is the looped bank commercial. On comes a breaking news banner. Meridian Tech Solutions has completed its $2.3 billion acquisition of Premier National Bank. The camera pans to a headshot, same composed, intelligent face standing at the counter. Gasps ripple through the marble. Brad's jaw works soundlessly. Patricia freezes mid-blink. The anchor's next line is a guillotine drop. The acquisition will be overseen by Dr. Denise Washington. The torn $47,000 check, her signing bonus. The company Brad dismissed as fake, now his ultimate employer. And just when the air couldn't get any thicker, the bank's own diversity ad plays featuring her teenage son, smiling into the camera about dignity and respect. Brad looks from the screen to her and back again, connecting the dots far too late. Silence settles over the lobby like dust after an implosion. Mrs. Rodriguez's live stream flirts with 1,000 viewers, her whisper crackling through. They just discriminated against the woman who owns their bank. Patricia's phone rings again, and this time the regional director's voice booms over speaker for everyone to hear, demanding to know if this viral humiliation is real. Denise steps forward, her tone shifting into the crisp cadence of a boardroom address, listing the branch's deposits, headcount, and now very public liability. Brad tries to salvage his pride with, "How are we supposed to know who you were?" A question so revealing it could be framed for the next corporate training manual. Denise, patient as a professor with a slow student, says professional service should be standard for every customer, regardless of who they are. Historians still argue whether Brad's blush at that moment was from shame or the sudden realization he'd be job hunting by sundown. Then comes the corporate scalpel. She outlines 2 options. Option A: complete institutional reform, bias training, real-time monitoring, and measurable accountability. Option B: Meridian walks away from the acquisition, gutting the bank's value and closing 47 branches. Bradley agrees to every measure before she's even finished speaking. And she's not done. Premier National will also donate $500,000 to local civil rights organizations, transforming this ugly afternoon into a seed for community repair. Brad's suspension is instant. Jim now stands behind him, handcuffs ready. Patricia's termination call follows minutes later, punctuated by the heartbreak of her teenage daughter calling from school, sobbing about the video. The reforms roll in like a well-drilled military unit. External diversity consultants, policy overhauls, real-time customer feedback systems. The torn check pieces get saved under glass, destined to be a permanent training exhibit. By 3:47, Denise heads for her board meeting, the same quiet smile on her face. 6 months later, the bank's lobby is unrecognizable digital diversity displays, bias detection tech, and a culture rebuilt around respect. Brad works at a small credit union now. Patricia has relocated, and Mr. Thompson volunteers at civil rights events. Jordan, once the kid in the ad, speaks to packed auditoriums about how systems can be reshaped when you know the rules. And somewhere, Mrs. Rodriguez still tells this story to new live stream audiences, reminding them that the most devastating answer to discrimination isn't shouting its patience, strategy, and the kind of precision that makes bias too expensive to survive. The marble lobby is quieter now, the echo of that torn paper long faded, replaced by the steady hum of change taking root. You can almost see it in the way staff greet each customer, in the subtle shift of posture when they listen, in the absence of those sharp-edged whispers that once lingered like smoke. Denise's steps out into the soft afternoon light feel less like an exit and more like a quiet continuation because the work doesn't end with a victory. It carries forward in the choices made every day by people who now know better. The promotional screen inside cycles through fresh stories, each one authentic, each one a reminder that dignity is not a marketing slogan but a practice. Somewhere in the rotation, Jordan's voice comes through a little deeper now, speaking about respect as though it's the most natural currency there is. And maybe that's the point it should be. The city noise folds around her, distant sirens blending with the murmur of pedestrians, a reminder that out there, the same old patterns still try to repeat themselves. But inside this branch, at least for now, they've been replaced with a standard no one dares drop. You can feel the weight of it in the air, a quiet vow between strangers that what happened here won't be allowed to happen again. So if you've ever stood in that same spot Denise did misjudged, underestimated, dismissed, remember her patience, her preparation, her refusal to flinch. Change doesn't always arrive in a blaze. Sometimes it walks in wearing a tailored blazer, checks the time, and waits until the exact right second to speak. And when it does, it leaves a silence so complete you can almost hear the future breathing.